Well, here we are again. It's Sunday afternoon. The sun is just coming out, I've noticed, which is going to mess around with my lighting. And we're in the kitchen, and Paul is going to be showing you how to cook dried chickpeas using the Instant Pot with no soaking necessary.
No.
I mean, this is a game changer for people who like beans.
It is.
Because normally it's soak for 4 days, cook for 24 hours, throw all the liquid away several times, run round the garden shouting, cook my beans now. I mean...
And that's even before you get them in the pot with boiling water.
I mean, it's just a faff. Who cooks dried beans these days? We buy tins.
Well, we do buy tins, but it's generally cheaper still to cook your beans from dried beans, because the quantity we'll get out of what we're doing today is basically about 4 cans. And a can of beans or chickpeas or something like that at the moment is about 70p upwards, and doing it this way is just much cheaper. I think it brings it down to about 40p per tin equivalent.
Right, great. Well, without further ado, let's get on and have a little look at what we're doing. So, Paul, I notice you're wielding a jug of dried chickpeas here. Let's have a closer look at them. So there we have our dried chickpeas, also known as Garbanzo beans. And I remember when we grew them and made falafel out of fresh chickpeas.
And they were nice and green.
Yeah, so the dried version of these is brown, well, a sort of beigey colour, but when they're fresh, they're green.
Yeah.
And the pods are very fragrant, if I remember rightly.
They are. They're quite sort of lemony and quite sticky.
Yeah. So how many chickpeas have you got here? What's the weight, Paul?
So I've got 500 grams of chickpeas here, and these have been washed, rinsed and drained. The reason that we do that is when beans are travelling, they can get quite dusty when they sort of rub against each other, and it's nice to have really sort of clean beans when you're cooking something, because you don't want it to get too cloudy.
And also, there can be sometimes bits of grit and dirt.
There can, yes, yeah. I mean, you know, it depends how these have been collected. Many are now harvested in fields and then taken straight to factories and processed in factories, but sometimes different brands will do that in a different way, and you might get dust or some stones in here as well.
So you've got to watch out for that, because nobody wants to be crunching down on a pebble.
No.
So 500 grams of dried chickpeas, and how much water are we going to be using, Paul?
1.5 litres of water.
So
whenever I do any beans from dried, I always use 500 grams with 1.5 litres of water.
And that can be scaled up?
It can be scaled up, but with a pressure cooker you can't scale up too much, because you must never fill a pressure cooker when you're cooking beans more than half the volume of the pressure cooker.
Okay, alright. So let's get the beans in the pressure cooker and get the cooking started. So just to expand on what Paul was talking about in terms of capacity when cooking beans, you can see from the inside that there is actually a halfway mark, and there's also a 2/3 mark as well, Paul.
Yeah, so...
What does the 2/3 mean, first of all?
The 2/3 is basically the maximum capacity for the Instant Pot, so you should never really go above that line, because it needs to have some room to both expand and create the pressure and the steam up here. But for dried beans, with your beans and your water, never go above this halfway mark, because generally beans and chickpeas will expand, they'll double in size. So if you fill it up to here, including your water and lots of chickpeas, it will expand, and you don't want it to expand too much.
We don't want any explosive activity, do we, Paul?
No,
we don't. Lovely. So, okay, what do we do?
Chickpeas into the Instant Pot.
They're going to make a noise. Chickpeas in.
There we are.
Spread them so they're level.
And now 1.5 litres of water.
And this is cold tap water.
Cold tap water. That's 500
500?
millilitres.
Oh, right.
So that's 1 litre.
Oh, okay.
And that's 1.5 litres of water.
Okay.
So as you can see, the water level is quite high above the chickpeas.
Okay. Wow. All right. So on we go with the lid.
And then the valve right to the back, clockwise.
So lid is locked in place, valve is locked in place. Let's have a look what we're going to do with the pressure cooking. Okay, so let's start the cooking process. So you're going to select pressure cook.
Yep. And then for chickpeas, there's a 40-minute cook time, and that will cook them right through like they would be in a tin.
40 minutes, okay.
And they were taking the keep warm off.
And it's on high pressure.
It's on high pressure.
Okay, and that's it.
That's it. So it'll now come up to pressure. There's quite a bit of water in there, so it'll most probably take 20 to 25 minutes. Cook for 40 minutes, and then we're going to let it do a completely natural release.
Lovely. We will come back once the chickpeas are cooked. Okay, so the time has elapsed and the natural release has occurred over that time. So it was about 40 minutes cooking time, and then the natural release, we sort of just left it for a while and had an afternoon nap.
It was about half an hour, 40 minutes. So I think it was about an hour and a half, hour 35 in total.
Okay, so Paul's going to remove the lid, and
And I put the nozzle here open.
just to make sure there was no pressure left,
Yeah.
and there wasn't. So
Yeah.
we're all ready to open the lid. There we are, a bit of steam coming out. Let's have a look inside. So there's quite a lot of water in there, Paul, which I'm
Yeah.
surprised about.
Well, no, you need plenty of water in there to do this. So
Yeah, okay.
there's always water left over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like the rice where it absorbs everything. This isn't the same.
Now my question immediately that springs to mind, is this the water that can be used to make vegan meringue?
Yeah, you could do if you keep it, and a lot of I think it's the proteins, isn't it, that's gone into the liquid, and when it cools down you'd be able to whip it up.
What do they call it?
Aquafaba.
Aquafaba, that's right. So you could keep the liquid if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And of course we haven't added any seasoning to this at all.
No, we haven't, because we're going to be using this in other dishes. But if you wanted to, you could add a bay leaf, you could add some salt, you could add some herbs, some lemon zest. Yeah,
Okay.
you could flavour this up if you wanted to.
So what we're going to do is just demonstrate how well cooked they are by taking one out and giving it a crush. So bear with us. Well, they look good. They look just like they would do if they came out of a
tin.
A tin, yeah.
Yeah.
They're cooked, so they can be used for any kind of dish that you're going to make, and they could be used for hummus.
Yeah, we'll be using these mainly for hummus and then freezing some for future use.
Great, so that's how to do chickpeas in the Instant Pot until they're perfectly cooked.
Yeah, and as I said, you can do this with any type of beans, and we'll put below cooking times for different types of beans because they do have different cooking times.
Great. So, as usual, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in another episode of Instant Pot Recipes with Richard and Paul. And remember, if you want it all, watch Richard and Paul. Bye for now.
Bye.